Kaide.
Thank you, Chamberlain. Well, I may have said we're turning our attention to something else, but it's still security, so no. It's still on the same topic, security. And joining us in the studio today is Mr. Olatunbosun Abolariwa, who is a security consultant. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program.
Thanks for having me this morning.
So, over the past few days, I can chronicle some of the major security incidents. I mean, we've referenced the one in Imo. And Imo is peculiar because just earlier, months before, the police station in that area was burnt. And the police PRO in the state was saying, well, because we've not gotten our structure back, we just have a patrol team. So there is that one in Imo. We can talk about the killing in Sokoto, a very sad one, and the state governor asking for more troops on the ground. But don't forget the displacement happening in Zamfara, Kaduna. And by the way, Kaduna just recently, yesterday, talked about the casualty figures over the past 3 months. 343 killed, 830 kidnapped. That's another state. We can talk about Bauchi, the state governor, Bala Mohammed, recently saying, in fact, the groups are coming together. That's the bandits or terrorist groups are coming together now to form even bigger units. And if they can cause this much havoc as smaller units, imagine how big a havoc they can cause as bigger units. Having listened to former AIG, he has his opinions on where we are getting this wrong. I wonder what your take is on this, seeing those incidents.
Okay. Those incidents are one unfortunate incident, very, very unfortunate, and my heart goes out to all the affected families and how they are coping with it. The retired AIG Wilson Alego is somebody that is well known to me, and myself and himself has worked together on trying to put a training together for the police in the last like 5-6 years. We did a fantastic job that did not see the light of day. So don't let me go into that. Let me now talk about the surge or the shift in the operation of the what we call bandits or terrorists and the effect on people. It is an unfortunate the development that the shift in their own operation against the people seems to be bigger than that of the security agencies. So we've not heard much about army being able to surround the terrorists or the bandits and killing them and displacing them. But we are having a situation whereby in Sokoto, terrorists surround the market and we're able to kill a lot of people at that spot. We're having an Imo State where criminals were able to infiltrate the scene of a meeting, and two traditional rulers lost their life instantly. This calls for attention, and I think it is time to ask the National Security Advisor that is there going to be a shift in your own approach, in your own module operandi, or we're still going to be using the same one we're using until we get here. Security operations or security challenges or both against each other is like a game. When there is a shift in one, there must be a shift in the other one.
So in essence, pardon me, you're saying that, I mean, the onslaught from security agencies on those terrorists has not been proportional to the onslaught of those terrorists on the people.
Yes.
And you referenced the NSA. Incidentally, he's made some statements in recent times talking about kinetic and other approaches. So prior to this point, what kind of approach have you noticed that the government has been taking, and what do you want the government to shift to?
Yeah, in fairness, there was a problem which took place about 10 years ago at the beginning of this. And this is the area where we took responsibility of securing place away from the police and bringing the military in. And it has always messed things up for the police who have wider coverages, who has wider communication gadget, who has the ability to create area command divisions, police posts, and so on and so forth. And every time we bring the military in, the incident they will create is going to mess up things for the police for years to come. And I'm going to take you back to what happened in Maiduguri when Yusuf, the former leader of Boko Haram, was killed. Look at the situation before that killing, the involvement of the military, and what happened after them.
The police was also involved in that.
The police were also involved. But I just think that whatever strategy we're putting in place, there are two things we need to consider. One, the position of the police must not be relegated in any way. Because at the end of the day, they were there before. They have the constitutional duty to protect lives and property, and they will be there after the strangers that we invited to assist them move away. So we really need to ensure, the federal government really need to ensure that in whatever we do in response to insecurity, the position of the police, the power of the police, the capacity of the police must not be tampered with, one, must be boosted in such a way that is going to be commensurate with whatever problems we are facing.
You know,
what the former AIG said about vehicles is very, very correct.
And that takes me to my next point. I think it's no coincidence we're discussing this right after we had the conversation about the NSAS protest, the demands of the protesters to ensure we have better police force. And on the back of, I mean, for example, they don't have operational vehicles, they're not well equipped, welfare is not as good as it ought to be, and they are now coming against terrorists who are well equipped. I mean, you have been in the thick of things, so I'm sure you know the capacity, the kind of ammunitions, the arms, the platforms that these terrorists, bandits, whatever term you want to call them, have. So can we pitch the police as it is currently against those terrorists? Do you think that makes sense? Isn't that why it is only fair to allow the military come in and support? By the way, it is not police versus military. It's meant to be a collaboration.
Okay, before we talk about collaboration, what are we collaborating together? The quality of that really need to. And I'm going to give you an example. You did mention NSAS now. You see, the involvement of the military in the NSAS saga was what messed things up. I think they were not trained. They were trained to protect the integrity of the country. They were not trained to deal with people.
You know,
they don't deal with people
that's still
on
quite,
a daily.
that's still quite debatable because the panel has not come out with its
report.
final report.
Let's leave the panel out of it now.
I mean, the panel was set up to look into that, so we can't take it out.
So let's talk about what ought to be in the first place. And that brings me back to my last point, that the capacity of the police, the role of the police, the constitutional duty of the police must not be relegated in any way. So now talking about the resources they need for that, I heard the CP shouting, follow them, arrest them, tear gas them. But I look at the whole of that video, he does not even have the capacity to arrest the crowd, the mammoth crowd we have there. There is no enough vehicle for him. There is no enough manpower for him. And the moment they are overwhelmed, that's when they resort to using arms. So what I'm trying to say is that what the former AIG said goes hand in hand with the policing of Nigeria of the 21st century.
So in other words, the police is not, I'm just trying to get it clear, because I mean, you say that the police must not be relegated, and I want to imagine that that's the goal of government, the state as it were. But then we know that the police is not well equipped. We know how equipped, at least to a large extent, from pictures and images we have seen, how equipped the bandits and terrorists are. So are you saying that we should still pitch the police alone against those people and ensure that they take, you know, the forefront position, or what?
No, they need to take the central stage position.
Okay,
Pardon me.
Let me contextualize this properly. Let's listen to this message, and then, not a message actually, it's a track, and then we'll come back to get your response. Okay. So there you have Governor Tambuwal making an appeal for more boots on the ground, and he mentioned that displacement. And I mean, these are states in the northwest region, so you have the bombardment in Zamfara. Just yesterday, there were successes recorded by the military as well, who is also bombarding and ensuring that they give them no space. But then they've been displaced to Sokoto, and you heard him saying that prior to that whole bombardment and displacement, they didn't have it quite as bad. So does this point to perhaps need to have better coordination? Because I imagine that as security agencies, you look ahead and say, if this happens, what will be the outcome of it? So what does this point to for you?
Points to whatever that is happening at the National Security Advisor's Office. You made mention of coordination, and they are the ones that are supposed to look at it. The governor of Sokoto State just made one vital point now, that when you strike against them in one state, they move into another state. That is a vital intelligence for the Office of the National Security Advisor to look into.
That's
and
imagining
advise.
they don't have it already.
If they don't have it already. And between me and you, over the last months, we could see that people have video recording of terrorists or bandits or whatever name we call them, moving freely on motorcycles, invading community and exiting the community without any form of intervention. Is that the situation we're still dealing with now? If the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the police, the National Security, Civil Defense Corps were unable to deploy resources through proper sister agencies coordination or collaboration, I think the NSA should be able to come out with a better strategy to advise them on how to deal with this.
So
they are not stopping. Their strategies are not static. They are changing strategy every day. So we cannot work with one NACEST document created by the NSA and think that is what we're going to be implementing to an ever-changing security challenges that is staring at us every day.
On a final note, if we could just do this in a few seconds. So you've heard the state executives, Imo, Bauchi, Sokoto, even Kaduna, speaking on different issues. And I recall the president saying that, I mean, he's had governors come to him and he's told them to go back to secure the area. But you say the buck stops at the table of the NSA, which is at the federal level, as it were. So what then is the role of state executives?
Yeah, I really want to thank you very much for asking this important question. And I'm going to throw this challenge back to the state. I'm going to give 50% support to Mr. President. States and state governors, you have a role to play in ensuring that your state is secure. You have a security vote. How well are you using this security vote to support the security agencies? You just heard about vehicles and other things. Then another thing we also need to know is that stop playing politics with security of lives and property of your people. The Kaduna State Governor, less than 100 days ago, did mention that the bandits are kind of businessmen. Today, he's coming out to say we should call bandits, we should designate or identify bandits as terrorists. All this kind of careless statements shouldn't be coming out from your office.
Well,
work with your
I like you to measure your comments.
I totally appreciate.
Because it's quite important. I mean, in the process of making a point, we need to ensure that those points are made quite well without insulting the
No. There's no. It's not. We shouldn't see it as an insult when we are making a statement of fact. Information needs to go out to the right people. It's part of the strategy. Inflammatory statement or unrealistic statement that could mean a lot to the enemy's camp shouldn't be made by people who are responsible.
So careless to you might just be measured to another person, which is essentially the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
But I think that point has been made, Mr. Olatomoso, and I'd like to thank you so much for at least speaking to some of the issues, especially roles of state executives in security in Nigeria. Mr. Olatomoso Abolanra is a security consultant, and he's been speaking with us on security issues. Thank you so much.
Thank you.